I'm Morgan.
And I'm Jake, and this is
Neverland Navigation Radio,
where we delve into the conspiracy theories that we've seen passed around time and time again when it comes to Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
Or Disney parks in general, I guess.
Can you believe that when I was doing my research for this, there was actually at least one where I was like, I didn't know that wasn't true.
Oh my gosh, you learned one?
Yeah.
You learned, wow.
Yeah.
You debunked.
Well.
For yourself.
Yeah.
I wonder if that'll happen for
anybody.
Me.
Oh, for you? Yeah.
Yeah, while you're giving your list of conspiracy theories.
I doubt it. I feel like you're a little bit more informed when it comes to this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I've clocked in a lot of nerd hours on the internet, like reading Disney stuff, honestly, is all it is. I would like, before we start to, or maybe at the end, maybe we can say how much we actually believe these things. Like, do you have any that you can't prove one way or the other?
I think that there's one that is slightly debatable.
Okay, well then I can't wait to debate it.
I mean, really, a lot of them are probably, if you really, you know what I mean? You know how there are people that would debate you on whether the Earth is flat?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, don't say that. What about our flat Earth listeners?
Okay.
Just joking. I don't think we have any.
I don't know what to say to
guys, Spaceship Earth is round, and that's the end of it. I will say
Spaceship Earth taught me.
Oh yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, via projection.
Circular projection. Sorry, go ahead.
Let me tell you something about the episode that we did, where the part one was you talking about Spaceship Earth, and part two was talking about Cranium Command, when we went down the true crime web of who stole Buzzy.
Disney true crime, yes.
Right. And we kind of named the suspects and stuff. I want us, after each conspiracy that like might have a little wiggle room for the truth, and we can talk about, what we think.
Okay.
We can conjecture.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fun.
All right.
So
are we just kind of going back and forth with some stuff, you feel like? We didn't really plan a...
It's organic.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah. But that being said, who do we want to start?
I was going to say, don't ask me who went first last time. I have no clue.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Unless it was the Epcot one, and then I definitely know because it was two totally different episodes and I went first last time.
It was the Epcot one, so I can go first.
Okay, sweet.
Okay.
Well, we did that restaurant one.
Okay. Oh, right. We did a restaurant one. Hey, thanks everybody for listening to the last couple podcast episodes, and that was your roundup on what happened the last couple episodes on Neverland Navigation Radio.
Yeah. And
now it's time to talk about some conspiracy theories.
Okay.
Ooh,
this was such a fun topic.
Yeah, this is a very fun topic. I knew which ones I wanted to talk about already, so I didn't learn any new ones.
Okay.
But I think I'm going to learn some new ones from you, probably.
Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe we're talking about the same stuff. We'll see.
Well, the first one, and you can tell me if you have the same thing, the first one that I wanted to do, I'm sure you're talking about this, is one we talked about on the podcast previously during the Spaceship Earth episode, which was the newspaper boy.
Oh, nope.
Great. Now,
wait, is there a conspiracy? I think there was just the facts and people don't know.
So this is, I think this falls into the category of conspiracy because there's no verifiable accounts of what actually, there's no Disney media statement. There's never been like a publicized Imagineer interview.
There's no picture of his burnt face.
There's no picture. So something I did find in the
thought
research
there was.
for this.
Okay, go on.
Well, I'm about to tell you.
Okay. Then I'm not going to go look.
You can look it up yourself if you want, but I promise I already did.
Okay.
We already kind of talked about this. Listen to Morgan's episode on Spaceship Earth. It's great and miraculous. But during the 2008 refresh, when they went from the Jeremy Irons narrated version to the current Judi Dench narrated version, and they switched sponsors from AT&T to Siemens.
Mm-hmm.
They're during the scene where they are depicting the advent of the printing press with Gutenberg. Gutenheim? What's that man's name?
No, Gutenberg.
Gutenberg invented the printing press. Thank you.
You're good.
He's there at the printing press, and then in the following little vignette, there's a boy who's like shouting at your cart in the original version, shouting at the car, talking about the news and that the Civil War was over or something to
I don't
show the
remember,
passage of
but
time.
it's like a normal newsboy,
Right.
shout. Go on.
He's hawking stuff. You've seen the movie Newsies, starring a young Christian Bale.
Yeah.
But anyway, so during the refresh, people came back to, first of all, a bunch of effects being missing, and animatronics being missing, but one being turned around, this newsboy. Now there's a new mural of the street in the back of the scene, and the animatronic is faced with his back toward the ride car, so you're looking at his back, and the boy is seemingly facing the street, now saying extra extra, buy a newspaper or whatever.
Right.
Newsies
Read all
talk.
about it.
Right.
Yeah.
So all that there has been, to my knowledge, officially, is speculation. Now, if you go onto some like chat boards and discussions and stuff, there's been some talk of people saying, I swear I remember seeing a picture of his burnt face,
right?
disfigured face from a fire. And then other people replying, that's not real, that never happened.
That's fake news?
And
okay.
some people underneath replying, I remember this one comment, I don't think I've ever seen that image being circulated publicly, as if to perhaps imply that there has been private circulation amongst those in the know, as in like people connected to people who work at Disney, in some kind of underground exchange of the image. So I think when you're dealing with something that, weird, I think it falls in the category of like, this is kind of like a fan theory,
Yeah.
That, and there are two versions that I've uncovered on the internet, which we've also kind of vaguely discussed. One was that he was just damaged somehow during the remodel.
Sure. Somebody could have dropped him on his face.
Right, which seems to be the most popular one because people keep saying broken face, disfigured face. But there are also people saying burnt, like it was a fire. And there have been fires in Disney attractions before, but not seemingly one that can be proven to be connected to the refresh during 2008. So like it seems to be that it's too vague to put a conclusive hit in maybe, but it's like one of, I would say, the most regularly cited Epcot like fan.
So you're
theories.
telling me there's no picture out there?
Not one on the
internet. Not
that
you found.
Yeah, and also
and you looked.
And of course I looked, but also people saying they looked exhaustively for the picture, and people were replying, well, you didn't find it because it doesn't exist.
Oh.
And then that one guy saying, well, you didn't find it because it's not circulated publicly. It's only. So if you listen to strangers on the internet, maybe somebody's got a picture of it. But like if you take that comment at face value, then hey, maybe there's something to it. But if you think, well, maybe this is just someone who's trying to earn themselves a following on the internet.
Sure.
They don't really know anything.
Haters.
Which is unfortunately how you kind of have to approach comments on the internet.
Yeah.
Because there's no third-party verification to say that this is someone who has any idea that they know what they're talking about. And for those reasons, I think we won't know the fate of the newsboy until there's another refresh, or until someone is, maybe stupid and
any cast member should know that works the ride, right?
No.
Why?
Because I don't think, even if you're
you don't think they walk around?
I don't think if you're doing a walk of the attraction, I don't think you have to go behind animatronics and stuff.
But could you?
Could you? I don't know. We'd have to ask someone who's worked. I've never worked on an attraction, so like I can't tell you firsthand.
I talked to a Haunted Mansion cast member before that had seen all of the inner workings of Haunted Mansion with the lights on, you know what I mean? And so knew all of the hidden Easter eggs in like the library. He said that there were a bunch of like books that had Jack Skellington or Sally from Nightmare Before Christmas and stuff like that you wouldn't know unless you were a cast member that kind of got to walk it when nobody was there.
That's cool.
And so that conversation that I had with this guy made me feel like you could probably do that on all of them.
Can I
But
ask when they were a cast member? Like during what time?
oh yeah, it was at some point in the last 8 years,
That's pretty recent.
but not the last three, because it was. I mean, this is a conversation I had with a cast member that was working at the time. It's not like a friend.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
since I moved here in 2017.
Right. Well, yeah. I don't know if anyone's documented like, we talked about how during when attractions are defunct, sometimes people like sneak in there and take
Yes.
pictures.
Right.
There's been no someone sneaking off of their ride car on Spaceship Earth and
Right.
snapping a picture of
And the
Presley or
cast.
a cast member
Right.
leaking a picture.
Right.
None of that, to my
I
knowledge,
don't.
has happened. So
Yes, and I wonder if they know but can't. I'm sure they can't take pictures and they don't want to risk their job. I actually get a little irritated when ex cast members kind of ruin some of the magic. You know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, I'm someone who definitely can't look away
Uh huh.
when it comes on my feed. So like, I I don't want to bite the hand that feeds my curiosity.
Right.
But at the same time, I it does make me worry for them because I don't know, maybe you don't, maybe it's not something that people are that worried about, but I feel like I wouldn't want Disney legal to be like on the wrong side of me.
Yeah. Same.
You
Same.
know,
Yeah.
just personally, I'm just not looking for extra headaches from the Walt Disney Company.
Right.
I'm
Sure.
good. All
All
right.
right. Well, that's super interesting. Gosh, and so that means that I heard this story and then formulated the picture in my head. You know what I mean?
I think that's possible, or maybe one of those things happened where somebody makes a Facebook post talking about it, but then they put a picture of just some random broken animatronic face side by side,
Hmm.
and then now in everyone's memory, that's the truth because someone edited the image, like put two images side by side. That kind of stuff happens on the internet more than I could possibly
Got it.
say. I see it all the time, even on the Disney internet.
Right. Okay. Interesting. I like it.
Yeah, that one doesn't have a lot of story or anything. It's just kind of an interesting one to talk about, and I wanted to get to it because we did mention it on the podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I could I could jump to one that's similar, but it's my most interesting one, so maybe I should leave it till the end.
Ooh, I like a big finale.
Okay, well then I'm gonna go ahead and go to the theory that no one that this is a thing that's rumored that I'm sure you've heard, I'm sure everybody's heard, that no one dies on Disney property.
This has got to be the most like
Yes.
repeated.
Did you look into this at all?
No, I did not.
So yes, so that's why everybody says that no one dies on Disney property, because Disney goes out of their way to make sure that somebody that does die on property isn't pronounced dead until they're off of Disney property.
For press reasons.
Uh-huh,
For
right.
public relations.
So is this one you believed?
Um.
Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't weigh in on what you thought happened to the kid.
Oh,
This is your idea.
I forgot. Yeah, look at me abandoning my own premise. I think the Spaceship Earth kid probably. So from what I read that from what I read about the actual refurb that happened to the Judi Dench version is that some of the animatronics went away, and this was something I saw discussed on some of those discussion forums as well.
Sure, yeah.
Is that some of the animatronics went away because they weren't functioning well, but they didn't have the budget to kind of make them beautiful again,
Okay.
which is very sad. But with those kinds of things being in the air about the renovation, I think it could stand to reason that maybe his face just stopped working
Oh, okay.
and he's still got a face and it's just back there lifeless, which is kind of
Sure.
equally terrifying. Or maybe when they were moving him, they did bang him up a little bit and it just turned him around. Those are theories that I find to be at least plausible because it hasn't been proven otherwise.
Super plausible. Yeah.
So I would say the likelihood
They had to
on
have
that
some
one,
reason to turn them around.
right? So I would say the likelihood on that one is like a solid 50-50. Like it could be very well true, but there's no evidence. So like I'd put it right in the middle.
Of So you think there's a 50% chance that he's totally fine and they just turned him around for?
Well, no, I think something's wrong with him.
Okay, okay, yeah, yeah,
I
same.
think a 100%, in my opinion, with the evidence, that there's
Yeah.
something wrong with him.
Now that you mention it, it doesn't. The fire thing sounds less plausible because wouldn't we have heard if there was a fire?
And
Wouldn't other have damaged?
that's what
Yeah.
I was gonna say. Is I feel like
Those
surely it wasn't just a newsboy face
this
fire.
yeah, the scene right before that and the scene right after that are the same, right? I'm pretty sure they're the same as they were for the Jeremy
Yeah,
Irons version
they didn't
because
like
it's the Gutenberg printing press and then it's the switchboard, right?
telegraph operators and stuff.
Right, that's on the other side, but right
Uh-huh.
past him is the ladies that would change.
Yeah,
Right?
they're so glamorous. Those
Yeah.
ladies, I love them.
Yeah, I don't think that was added.
No, I think that's from the Jeremy
Yeah,
Irons
because of
version.
the AT&T, it would make perfect sense for it to have been there.
Yeah,
Anyway, so yeah, some of that I feel like would have had fire damage
their
as
hair
well.
or
Yeah,
something.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, very interesting.
Okay, sorry. Back to
Back to
Back to
whether
No
you
One
can
Dies.
die on Walt Disney property. So is this one that you believed?
I still do believe that Disney does whatever it can do to control its public image.
Me too.
However, the I think that taking it to the extent that there's like a firm rule in place about dying on property is like an exaggeration of that mentality, especially because of reasons I'm sure you'll get into.
Yes, and that seems to be the exact truth.
Okay, good.
And that's okay for me up until a certain time, and I'm not saying it wasn't recently, but I wasn't like a child. I did believe this.
Mhm. It
Um,
seems very believable because of Disney's
yes,
reputation.
yes, and because you hadn't actually heard of, and really, I'm thinking about my early adulthood when social media wasn't as big, or people weren't on MySpace talking about Disney deaths, or maybe they were, and I just wasn't
The
into
good
it.
old days when people were talking about Disney death on MySpace.
Right, right.
Right.
But
pure time.
pre Instagram and
Oh yeah.
and TikTok and stuff like that, where if something happens now, it's immediately everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ain't that the truth?
So I did believe it, and not in a magical, I believed nothing bad ever happened, but in a, I believed that they got them off property before they pronounced them dead situation. But that turns out not to be that's not true because there have been a bunch of confirmed deaths on property at this point, and I can list some of them. Yeah, I guess I will. Why not,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
So it goes back as far as into the 80s, confirmed deaths on property.
Really? Nobody died until the 80s? That's a pretty solid 9-year run.
Well, that's the earliest that I could find any information on. That doesn't mean it didn't happen.
Hard facts, okay.
Yeah, yeah. And
first
maybe
of
that
all-
was their goal. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I could see that being a goal.
Yeah, 0 days since.
Yeah.
Okay, before we get into this, obviously I want to say that this is like a lighthearted kind of podcast, and this is not like out of disrespect for the people that these unfortunate things have happened to. It's just an interesting topic of conversation for, the people who live within the theme park, sphere, like the community, to know the things that these big media companies are trying to downplay. It's important to, to understand a little bit that like let's talk about some of these because,
Yeah, and I'm not I'm not going to go into everything I have written, but like the first one that I could come across was in 1984,
Okay.
and this is a plane crash.
Wow.
So, but this is something that I hope to get into on a future podcast because I talked to somebody that was in a show that took place in the early 80s, and I think that show is this story.
Wow.
Yeah, because he was telling my parents and I that they were doing the show in Epcot, and there was planes involved, and that one of them went down, and then the show got canceled.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the pilot, the singular pilot of one of these little planes that was in the show, died at the time on Disney property.
Whoa. Whoa. Really?
Yes, but
Okay.
not like in the middle of a show for a bunch of people.
Okay. Understood.
Uh-huh.
Is the show like when we say a show? Are we talking about an Epcot show like at the World Showcase Lagoon?
Yes.
No way.
Yes. Yes.
Whoa.
Yes. I want to research it more
Yeah,
before I commit
please
to anything,
do.
and then I'm going to reach back out to him and see if we can get him on, because he was in the show.
Let's not curse it.
Okay.
Jinx it.
Yeah, this is why I haven't mentioned it yet. Because he says that there's like no information even on the internet about it because it was so long ago. But I think I'm good at
Wow.
finding stuff, so we'll delve into that when we get there. But so in 1984 there was a plane crash. Obviously, you can't not pronounce somebody dead on a plane crash type situation. I didn't get a lot of information off of the internet this time about that. If it is the thing I think it is, then I'll get more information coming up.
A little teaser for a future Morgan
Yeah,
story. I
yeah.
love it.
Do you think I should not go into these?
Which ones?
These other there was another death in the 80s, that
Okay.
was pronounced at the scene, a sad one. There have been a few cast members
Yeah.
over the years that something happened to, like an on the job type thing.
Right.
Um,
I've seen a bunch of these stories as they've come out.
and now they're starting to, now that things are the way they are with social media and stuff like that, things come out. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there have recently been some cast member incidents that have resulted in that.
Yeah, this specific one that I made note of was in 2018, and just in this past year there have been a few suicides,
Mm,
which makes me really sad that somebody would
yeah,
commit suicide in Disney.
heartbreaking.
Yeah, one was a well, there was also an accidental fall at Contemporary earlier this year.
Really?
Yeah,
An accidental fall. Wow, that's
from a
terrifying.
balcony. I know, it's heartbreaking. And then a suicide at Old Key West. I mean, just a few months ago, unfortunately.
Yeah, the suicide and crisis hotline is 988. You can text 988 if you're ever feeling that you are having a crisis situation or you just need somebody to talk to. It's just something I always like to bring up when we're talking about stuff like this.
Yeah, good, good. I'm glad you found or you had that on hand. I got really frustrated with it, and another like blog poster that is trying to get hits off this situation by naming their blog post, fatal shooting at Walt Disney World, and then it's a suicide, and I just, classless, you know what I mean? Very frustrating.
That's terrible.
um but anyway, so that basically what I'm getting to with this, nobody can die on Disney property. And this is actually has been a recent topic of conversation for a lot of Super Disney fans, because an
Oh,
ex-cast member posted a TikTok, talking about how he used to work at the Tomorrowland Speedway, and that they basically had somebody die there, but that they wouldn't pronounce them. He was just saying, like, he was
hmm.
told by somebody else that works there, because he was like, why are they still giving this guy CPR when he's clearly already dead? But there's a lot more to it than that cast member might realize about the amount of time that you're legally required to give CPR in these kind of situations and stuff like that.
Wow. I was not aware of any of that. That is so interesting.
Yeah. That, I mean,
And
definitely one I
morbid.
believed for
But
a
wow.
while. Yeah.
Wow, all right. But we can safely say that's debunked.
It's debunked.
That there have been unfortunately several deaths
Yes.
on Disney property. And yeah, there's certainly many to go over. Some of them are like terrible, you know.
Yeah.
Mostly just accidents and stuff though.
Hmm.
Yeah. All right. I've got one.
Okay.
Um, speaking of death, let's go to the Haunted Mansion. Let's talk about fictitious fun stuff. And in the Haunted Mansion, I brought this up, I think, during the last Haunted Mansion episode that Morgan did. and I wanted to talk about the bullet hole in the haunted mansion.
Okay.
Did you do this one?
No, I am
Yes.
so glad you're doing this.
Hooray.
Okay.
So this one is one of those that I think we need to talk about how much we believe it at the end of it.
Okay.
Because there's like hearsay information, but not official Disney information. So we can take the evidence into account and make a decision, okay?
Okay.
So here's the story, and this story is coming from this really cool Tumblr account called Haunted Mansion Backstage that posts a lot of like stories and photos and stuff that have been taken of like the animatronics and the show scenes that you normally don't get to see and stuff.
Okay.
So this is what they had to say, and it's a really interesting story that I've seen all over the internet. Um, this is about the California Disneyland Haunted Mansion. They say around the summer of 1974, someone with a firearm within the park fired off multiple rounds. Two of the gunshots were two confirmed gunshots struck both the ballroom wall in the haunted mansion and a snowflake on Adventure Through Inner Space. We should talk about Adventure Through Inner Space one time. That's a really interesting attraction from Tomorrowland. But
Did you say a snowflake?
yeah, because in that there's the shrinking beam, and it's gonna shrink you. It shrinks this, or it expands this snowflake to a huge snowflake, and then you go through.
I'm not
the
familiar
inner
with
space.
this.
Yeah, it's a classic Disney attraction.
Okay.
And then a third hole was found in the Primeval World diorama on the train, which we learned about during the train episode.
Yes. So these are not all in the same area.
No, we're talking about multiple bullet holes, different attractions, but the investigation by the Anaheim Police Department determines that the bullet holes were 22 caliber with bullet fragments matching between the holes. So, according to this person, the police said that they were all the same bullet in each place, meaning that they were fired presumably from the same gun.
Okay.
This left Disney with a problem because the pane of glass at the ballroom scene is so large that they would have to destroy the roof and take the roof off of the attraction to get the glass out and replace it with new glass.
So it just made a circle hole through glass?
Like the image. Well, let me get into this and I'll tell you what the hole looks like.
Okay, because I would think that a bullet would shatter glass.
So,
but you can tell me later.
Disney's solution is to cover up the hole by disguising it as a spider web.
Okay.
Because it's
shattered.
Okay, and looked like it broke. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Exactly what you're saying. They were like, so they put a spider web and a spider right in front of that hole, and the next time you ride the Haunted Mansion, if you look for it right before you're entering Leota's room and right as you're leaving the ballroom, you can look for the spider and the pane of glass and the spider web and stuff. Okay, so let's do pros and cons. On the cons, straight off the bat, I could see this being someone's imagination explaining why there's a spider and a spider web right there. You know what I mean?
Okay.
On the truth,
so there's no pictures of the bullet holes?
No.
Okay.
So, but on the pro side, I find the detail to be pretty believable with like the multiple bullet holes and the police investigation. I'm like, yeah, what year was this? 1974? I bet people were bringing guns into Disneyland all the time.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It was a different security state of being back in the 70s and 80s.
But wouldn't it have been a big deal if you heard a gunshot on a ride still?
Now that, I think, that leads me a little bit toward like, I don't know how true. Because that's something
there aren't pictures of any of the bullet holes? No. Somebody just said that there are bullet holes in 3 different places?
Yeah, that's why I think this one is like, one that I wanted us to talk about how much we believed it because, you know,
It's just a weird. It's a weird lie. If it's a lie, you know what I mean. It's weird. Like, but I don't know.
yeah. People are debating the legitimacy of this on the internet. I'm looking now. Um, apparently, a bunch of people have told the story though. So yeah, it looks like people believe it. Some people don't believe it. If that's all the evidence we have, what do you think on a scale of 1 to 10? How much do you believe the situation?
If that's all the evidence we have, then I guess two.
2. I would say, yeah, I would.
But
Uh,
there's for it to be a debate, I feel like there's got to be more out there about it. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like a
a
like a
police report.
yeah, or a reason why this was suspected in the first place. And I feel like I'm just missing something.
Ooh, yeah. Well, I've got to tell you, unfortunately, I'm looking for if you Google, for police reports from Walt Disney World.
There's a lot.
There's a lot.
Yeah, well, I believe that.
Yeah.
They'd have to do a police report anytime somebody was like, behaving drunkenly or whatever. So
But
yeah, yeah,
like we're talking about, it is also from another time where maybe not every single police report that came out of Disneyland was like a news headline.
yeah,
Maybe Disney had, was doing its PR thing and kept it hush hush.
sure,
Although, like something that you brought up, like other guests being potential witnesses to the situation, is like adds a layer of the unexplained. Maybe there
yeah,
is a good reason. Maybe they were the only. Maybe it was a very not busy day. Maybe they worked on the attraction.
yeah.
Maybe they were a cast member after dark, and that's the reason that.
Uh,
There's so many things we don't know that I don't think I could say it true, but I would rate it as plausible.
okay,
Just seems to me like I don't know. I could see it. I
yeah,
mean, at Walt Disney World in recent history, within the past 20 years, some people were getting off of Spaceship Earth, and a cast member had to say, "Ma'am, you left your gun on there." So that was, stuff like that happens. Now, shooting an active weapon in Disney World is not something that happens very often. Um, or I guess Disneyland, but it's not undocumented. So, like, possible, I would say.
yeah, yeah, possible. Do you know why somebody? Is it because of the spider web showing up to begin with that the rumors started?
Perhaps.
Okay, all right.
I think at this point it's definitely reached like what we're talking about. You know what? I think I've confused conspiracy theory and urban legend a bit, perhaps, because this is definitely I think has spewed into the category of urban legend.
Yeah, well, that's fine. I mean, I think
Yeah,
there's some crossover.
yeah.
Or maybe we're not talking about conspiracy theories at all.
Well, I think honestly, sometimes a conspiracy theory and an urban legend, it's kind of like the same thing.
Okay. Yeah. After we're done recording, we can talk about it and decide for the naming of the episode. But yeah,
We'll talk to our marketing department.
either way, it's super fun.
Yeah.
Okay, well, my next one, you want me to go on to my next
Yeah.
one? My next one is okay. So the rumor or whatever is that Walt Disney World is covered by a protective dome. Have you heard this? This feels flat earthy to me. Let me tell you why.
Don't kick them while they're down,
Oh
Morgan.
man,
We've already beat up on
we
the flat
already
Earth
made
people.
Spaceship Earth.
We've gone too far.
Yeah.
Return to Earth, passenger.
This one seems so crazy to me, but if you Google it, there are a ton of people that still believe that Disney World is covered by some sort of protective dome that prevents pests and insects from getting in and controls the weather. the weather
Girl.
the weather is regularly bad. So
I was gonna say, who are the one group that didn't get rained on at
or
the Walt Disney World vacation?
yes, exactly.
Who believes this?
Yes, the weather is perfect such a small percentage of the time that I can't even with this one. But here's where I'm going from this, because obviously this isn't true. There's no question about whether this is true or whether this is not true. But I'm going to go into how Walt Disney World does mosquito control. Okay. Because it's very interesting.
I can't wait.
Okay. So, and actually, this is a little bit of a throwback to an earlier podcast, because General Joe Potter, who you would have heard a little bit about if you have listened to us, his name is on one of the boats somewhere else, right? A train, or is it just a boat?
I think that's the Admiral Joe Fowler.
Oh, okay.
Joe Fowler was, that was a boat. Okay. And now is the name of one of the Magic Kingdom transport ferry boats. Okay. Yes.
Well,
I think Joe Potter's a different guy, but I think I've heard of him too already.
Okay. Well, he was an MIT graduate and an engineering expert, and he had
maybe that was the other boat, because remember there were two. You're probably right. It was probably the other one.
Yeah. So he had worked in like the Panama Canal and had a lot of experience with all of the mosquito issues in other parts of the world. So Walt Disney hired him like on the spot for a lot of things. He did a lot for Walt Disney World. But one of the things he did was bring his mosquito knowledge to creating Walt Disney World.
Thank God.
Yeah, as a place that has less insects than anywhere else you've been.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's really true though.
Yeah.
That like when you're in the parks, you don't really. It's just not a problem that's at top of mind because you don't really experience it that much.
You don't really notice a lot of bugs at all.
Right.
Yeah, certainly not a lot of. I can't even count on my fingers how many times I've experienced like something really bad, like a cockroach or a big bug or even a mosquito bite. I'm sure I have had a few. I think I've had a few ant bites, but I don't think I've had a mosquito bite. Back when was it the Zika virus was an issue?
Right.
I remember that we were walking through Epcot and they were like handing out mosquito repellent for people to put on, and I was like, it's so weird because there's like none here, but they were still taking precautions.
Yeah. Good for them.
But anyway, one of the things that he had them do was to make it so that there's no standing water in Disney World. So like whenever, even if you see like a lake, it's got a fountain in it, which creates moving water. Right. One of the more interesting, like that might be something that any or many engineers would think of, but a more interesting aspect was that the buildings are created so that water won't puddle and stand on the top of the buildings.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like Spaceship Earth?
Yeah, well, yeah. Yes. The roundness is just for mosquitoes.
They hate round things too. No, just kidding.
Yeah, mosquitoes will lay their eggs on standing water, and then that's what creates a problem. And in Florida, there is a bit of a problem, especially during certain seasons.
I feel like every Floridian could give a PowerPoint about standing water and emptying your buckets and mosquitoes, because like we're drilled with that information.
Yeah.
From like news,
but yet,
radio commercials,
yes,
everything. Yeah.
Yes, but yet all of the neighborhoods that I've been to have these ponds, and it's like they're there, but
in
like
my neighborhood, all the ponds have fountains.
Yes, well, that's what I was getting to, is we need to be adding like something to
put a water feature up in there.
Yeah, because some of these ponds in Walt Disney World actually have something underneath the water to keep the water moving.
What is it?
But it's just something to keep the water moving.
like a motor, like
exactly.
Oh, cool.
So, I mean, as I'm sure everybody knows, or most people would know, that they did a lot of like swamp draining to create buildable land to create Walt Disney World. And so that took away a lot of those problems. They also use liquid garlic in spraying of all of their plants and stuff like that.
Wow.
And they use just enough so that it's not enough for us to be like, wow, this park always smells like garlic. We don't smell it, but it's enough to bug the bugs.
As 100% red-blooded Italian folks, we like the smell of garlic. But yeah, I that's kind of amazing. I wasn't aware of the garlic end of that.
Yeah, and then they do the things that a lot of other Floridians do, where they put specific kind of fish in the small fish in the lakes to uh, eat the any mosquito larvae that might accidentally get put there. Um, the this ties in with it, so I'm just going to keep going if you don't mind. Um, Another rumor is that Disney World has cats, like a population of cats that are meant to eat like mice and bugs and stuff like that.
Hmm.
Is this one you've heard of? What's your take?
I kind of believe it.
Okay, so
Do you?
I kind of did, but what I have found is that in Disneyland, this is true.
The cat
Yeah.
brigade.
Yes, they actually have like feeding spots in the Circle D Ranch, where they keep the horses for these feral cats, and they in Disneyland they will trap and then neuter and then release these cats back into Disneyland.
Hmm.
And if they start getting too friendly with guests, then they will adopt them adopt them out to a cast member, because they want the feral cats to be there to eat the whatever,
Yeah.
but they don't want them.
They're not on display.
They don't want to take any chances of like somebody getting bit or something.
Yeah, and people have cat allergies and stuff.
Yes, and they don't want the park to get overran, which is why they keep them like neutered.
Everybody wants to be a cat.
So if an accident happens and a litter of kittens is there, then they will adopt them all out to cast members. There's enough cast members that would take a kitten that it's just not an issue.
Okay.
This has been like a thing since when they decided to turn Sleeping Beauty's castle into not just a like the castle to be seen from the outside, but into an attraction that you walk through. They found that inside of the castle there were a lot of feral cats.
Wow.
Yeah, those at the time were all adopted out, but then this amount
to be
of
a cat in the 1950s,
yeah,
just living in.
Sorry,
did you say Cinderella's castle or Sleeping
no,
Beauty's
I said
castle?
Sleeping Beauties. I'm on Disneyland because that's
Right.
where they actually do have these cats.
Right. They're just chilling in there. That's so cute.
Yeah. So in Disneyland, it's a yes, this is a true thing. There's actually an Instagram account called @DisneylandCats, which is the cats of Disneyland, and people will like submit pictures and they'll take pictures, and the fans have like named these different feral cats that kind of can be seen around the parks that hang out in certain spots.
They don't sound feral to me. They sound magical.
Yeah, I know. It's
That's
cute.
cool.
But in Disney World, it's no. It's a no. This is not a thing. You will see a cat from time to time, but they're not like fed in a certain location and encouraged by cast members.
Right. Well, we can't have cats here because the alligators would eat them all.
That's such a good point, and that's the first thing I thought of. Well, I get that.
No,
unfortunately, there's a lot of feral cats and there's a lot of alligators, and
Yeah.
that is probably something that happens. But my first thought was concern for these cats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something to be concerned about, I would say.
Yeah. But so in
We have
Disney
a lot of
World,
bunnies.
not a thing. We have so many bunnies,
Especially in Epcot.
But they can't be doing what the cats are doing in Disneyland,
No,
right?
I don't think so.
They eat grass and stuff.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think
it's
they just
interesting
are.
that we have so many bunnies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I think bunnies are so cute.
Yeah, but if you look at the cats of Disneyland Insta, it's funny, it's cute.
Like I don't follow.
Yeah.
Please.
Do you?
No.
Not yet.
But I'm gonna. Follow pending.
Yeah, they all have, you can see their ears clipped to show that they're neutered.
She works here.
Yeah, yes, I know.
This is her Tuesday show.
People talk about them as being cast members, which is so cute, and I can just imagine their little
Cast members.
yeah, their little badge. But anyway, so that's kind of a rumor that's both true and false.
I'm obsessed. That's a great one.
Do you have one more?
I've got one more with no basis, in fact.
Oh, okay.
It's just one that has been talked about so much.
Oh, is it the frozen head?
No.
Okay, I do think we should mention it.
Now that one I would love to talk about. But you have one more, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know if you guys remember, back in 2016 we got a new president. And every time we get a new president, the Hall of Presidents gets updated.
Uh-huh.
It took longer this time than for any
In
president
2016.
before
Yep.
in 2016, and everyone wondered why. And then the show opened, and people noticed that the current president at the time looked suspiciously, some would say, like Hillary Clinton, who people thought, who was projected to be president by, most media. So it was a surprise when, um,
Do you think that the animatronic of Trump looks like Hillary Clinton?
um, let's save our opinions till the
Okay. All right.
end. So when it opened, a lot of people were saying that the animatronic looked more like Hillary Clinton than it looked like Donald Trump, but had Donald Trump's hair, which a lot of people would say makes sense because they skin the animatronic and then add the hair and the facial
Mm-hmm.
features and stuff. Um, I will say that I think it's one of the animatronic likenesses of presidents that least looks like the president that it's trying to depict.
Sure.
And so for those reasons, I could see why people would have questions about its appearance. Would I say it has gone so far as to look like Hillary Clinton, or that Imagineering was already making a Hillary Clinton animatronic and then had to pivot to redress it as a Donald Trump animatronic? The things that people think about and talk about.
Yeah.
I don't know that it reads as, well, that for sure is Hillary Clinton up there talking to me, but it also doesn't look like Donald Trump that much to me. So I think it's iffy.
Okay.
What do you think?
I think it, without even remembering what it looks like, what the animatronic looks like, I am going to say I think that there's no way that Disney started, like, made an assumption one way or the other. You know what I mean? That I just don't think they would do that, especially with an animatronic that's so expensive.
I'm showing Morgan
The pictures.
the pictures. So that's Hillary, that's Donald, and that's in between.
Yeah, no. I don't think it looks enough like, you're right, it doesn't really look like Donald Trump very great, but I
Hmm.
mean, I wonder how close the others are. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think this was just something that people said to, I don't know, be, like a politically driven thing to say.
Okay, I think a lot of people would also say the same thing. Um, I'm looking at the Joe Biden one. It looks pretty much like Joe Biden. Looks pretty accurate. So at least they got
I
better.
also, yes, and I also think that some people just, and their shapes and stuff, might lend themselves better to being made into an animatronic than others.
Yeah, Morgan already looks like a Disney princess, so I can really
Stop it.
picture the animatronic version of her with her like round features, her big eyes. I'm like, yeah, you already look.
Like
That's what they all look like.
like the Little Mermaid and her.
Oh no, that one looks like whew.
How did they mess that up? But see,
Maybe
that's
she
like
just had a
that.
lot of caffeine.
You know what I mean? That there, you could talk about some animatronics that don't even look like the character from the movie,
Oh,
which
yeah.
so then, yeah, so
You're talking about the Ariel one.
I am, but there are others.
I bet you didn't know that she was designed to be Hillary Clinton.
Yes,
They had to change
exactly.
it. They had to change it last minute.
It's just, yes, that rumor sounds like something that was.
That was supposed to be a Snow White animatronic.
Okay, you get it. Yes,
I do get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how believable it is, but I think it's a terrible animatronic. Go look it up. Go look it up. It looks nothing like him.
Right. So this one might be, like the Little Mermaid one. They didn't quite get it.
They just didn't nail it, maybe.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Well, do we want to talk about Walt's Frozen Head at all?
I would love to talk about. Let's rename the podcast Walt's Frozen Head Talk.
So, I mean, this is just, I think, probably the biggest rumor.
Uh-huh.
that his frozen head is somewhere, but his
Do you think it's true, or are you gonna put it on
no,
ice?
no. Do you?
I think it's in the Living with the Land house.
Okay, okay. I mean, we could speculate about where it is, but
Ooh, that's
his
a fun game.
yeah,
Where do you think it
but
is?
his um realistically or something fun.
Oh, something fun.
Um, I mean, I'd like to think in the Haunted Mansion.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's in that blacked out space pod at the top of Spaceship Earth that we talked about
Yeah,
in your
yeah.
Spaceship Earth episode.
But I recently read the book Disney War, and so his daughter did say this is not true. Just like came out and said,
Obviously.
yeah,
I think I've always assumed that it's not true. In fact, I would say that when I think of the word um, conspiracy theory, urban legend, will we ever find out the difference? We will ever know. But when I think of those
yeah,
things, this is one that comes to mind because
yes,
it's so prevalent. In fact, someone made I should say it's like a movie maybe, but it's like a skit, like a long skit
yeah.
of like Walt's Frozen Head, The Adventures of Walt's
Oh
Frozen Head,
no.
I believe it's called. So it's like it's a whole thing. You
Ugh.
know what I mean? People really
We're
have run with
really,
it.
yeah, I don't know. I'm wondering if we're crossing the line from tactful.
Oh, with the I mean, I don't know. Um I feel like Walt's been dead a long time.
Yeah. I
And
mean,
people say tragedy plus time equals comedy.
yeah,
So here we are
okay.
at the end
Here
of
we
a bunch
are.
of time, I guess.
The thought that somebody like him would want to be cryogenically frozen does make sense to me. So,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Especially at the time.
yeah, people who are heralded by society as visionaries. I'm like,
Yes.
well, obviously your remains are being sent to space. You're
Yeah.
cryogenically frozen. Your heart is in 15
I
countries, and when
wouldn't
they
be
put them
mad
all
about
together,
it.
yeah, whatever. Because also the like ultra rich, like you know what I mean. If you're someone who has access to the premier healthcare
Yeah.
options of the world, imagine what living celebrities now are doing
Right.
with their
Right,
bodies.
right. So,
Yeah.
yeah. I
I
wouldn't
see the vision.
I I wouldn't mind if there was a way to bring back such an amazing human being at some point in the future, but I don't think it's true.
Yeah, imagine the hours and hours and hours of like things aren't the way they were then. Here's how the world works now that
Yeah.
someone would have to receive in that situation.
Yeah.
My gosh, what a thought. I do have to think though, if Walt's Frozen Head does exist, I hope it's on Disney property
Why
somewhere.
would it just be his head?
It makes
Is
no
that
sense.
is that a
To
thing?
preserve his brain must be the thought.
Okay.
Because that's where all his like information is stored. They could get him a new body, but you gotta have the brain. Maybe that's the thought.
Okay. Yeah.
But more than anything, I think it's just like a science fiction-y type of
Sure.
urban legend to scare children. You know what I
To
mean?
scare children.
Yeah, to like talk about on the internet to scare your little cousins. It's very that
Okay.
vibe, don't you think?
I don't think it's scary. But I see what you're saying.
I think it's kind of like I don't know, someone's decapitated head in a jar somewhere. I think is a little
Okay,
macabre.
okay, sure, sure, sure.
A frozen jar. Sorry.
Yeah. Yes, okay, I guess scary. I I'm more thinking of it from the sci-fi aspect of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they've got in
In the sci-fi aspect of it, it's almost hopeful. He could come
yeah.
back. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Yeah. There's definitely that like I think that's why people maybe believe it because Walt Disney was also like wrapped up a little bit in futurism.
Yes,
Like
exactly.
with the planning of Epcot, with Ray Bradbury's involvement with Tomorrowland and all
Right.
of those exploits. I feel like he was very future technology oriented for his entire life. So if anyone was going to be cryogenically frozen, perhaps, a futurist like Walt Disney.
Yeah, this one makes sense to me as believable. You know what I mean? More so than
Yes.
of course the dome, which makes no sense.
But it falls into the same category that I think most of mine fell into, which is like, is it a believable idea? Yes. Is there any hard evidence? No. That's why it's in the conspiracy theory
Yes.
episode. You know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah, speaking of, let me just jump to my last one, and then if there are any other giant ones we want to talk to, like Cinderella's castle being dismantleable.
Okay.
Dismantleable.
I'm gonna
I-
slide in one quick thing so now I've seen pictures of the bullet hole, not
oh,
not of the bullet hole, of the spider web and the spider,
oh, oh, oh.
being placed. And from all of the pictures that I've seen, I will say, it definitely feels to me like it would be something that they would replicate in the Disney World version if it were intentional or something like that. You know what I
Ah,
mean?
okay.
So, but here's also what I'll say. Crack in glass, bullet hole, not same thing. So like maybe it was just a kid threw a rock at it, somebody chipped it accidentally during maintenance. There's a million reasons there could be a hole or like a shatter or a scratch or whatever in a piece of glass that they would want to cover up. But I have to believe that like something happened to the glass. It's like
Sure.
the spaceship Earth Boy's face all over again.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. You've got to think that something must have happened. They're not going to just turn this expensive animatronic around for no reason.
Yeah, he got demoted big time. You don't get to show your face in this ride anymore.
Yeah. Um,
Should have sold more papers.
my last one that I'm going to mention, unless we get into any others, is wild and like yours. You know what I mean? Where there's no telling.
Oh, gotcha.
So on Carousel of Progress, and so this is so interesting to me because I had never even bothered to think this thoroughly. But you know how in Carousel of Progress you're going through the progression with the same family.
Mm-hmm.
So Patricia is the daughter's name. And sometimes they call her Patty,
Yes.
but she's Patricia. You know what I mean? And then there's the son,
Mm-hmm.
and it's the same family. Well, in the first scene, there's a third child helping the mom with laundry,
Right.
a little girl, and then she's never seen again in any of the others. So there's a big like fan conspiracy or whatever guess that they wrote her in the first one, and then the reason she's not in the others is because she would have died of like whooping cough or something.
Mm.
Isn't that wildly morbid and shocking?
Do they ever address the child?
No.
They don't even say the child's name, look at the child, talk to the child,
Oh,
right?
you mean in the first one?
Yeah, in the first scene.
I don't think so.
So, okay, can that not just be the neighbor kid helping or
It could
somebody's
be.
friend from school
Yeah.
coming over?
Well, she's doing laundry.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe not a friend.
Oh, good point. But like a cousin or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
It could be a cousin or something because they've got the uncle in the one scene, you know?
Yeah, right. I don't know, girl.
You don't love the whooping cough death theory.
I just
I don't love it either.
Well, maybe she got hit by a train. Like it could be anything. You know what I mean?
Yes, I'm not sure why. Yeah, why so specific?
Because they're trying to think about the fact that it's a chronological story and what would be the most likely reason a child would die at that time, perhaps,
Mm-hmm.
and like a big, perhaps a thing a lot of children died from at the time was whooping cough, and
Yes, for sure. Yeah, but
sure. It's weird that you have this Carousel of Progress fan fiction about child death in your head, everybody. But yeah, I'll play along.
I thought it was
that
so
darn whooping
weird.
cough.
But then I was like, I never even noticed that there was another.
I saw a post about this like pretty recently, and I had
Was
never
it about this?
about the child that you never see again, and it's the little girl with the hair and with the machine that she's cranking in the laundry room, just like you're describing.
Yeah.
But I thought to myself,
that's exactly how I described.
But I thought to myself, I've never noticed or cared or pay attention, just
Right.
like you. So like,
Yeah, same.
I never really put any thought into it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, maybe she was.
Yeah, it is like fan fiction. It's like somebody wrote fan fiction and it's morbid and sad.
Yeah, which is also basically what we're doing about this newsboy animatronic.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Not we.
Yeah, I mean, as the internet.
Well,
we collectively.
Okay, but that one, something must have happened to him for them not to have this like thousands of dollar animatronic. So that one at least makes sense.
This is just a plot hole.
This is a plot hole.
Yeah.
I don't know why. They don't really do plot holes, but this ride was created in the,
Yeah, for the New York World's Fair.
Yeah, I was going to try for the year, but I'm just not.
Um,
It's Yeah.
19.
It's cool.
I want to say 1960.
A long time ago.
Yeah, long time
In
ago
a
indeed.
galaxy far, far away.
So what do you think? What do you think happened to the child?
I think it's a plot hole. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it does kind of make you think
Yeah.
because
It's rare for them to have an oversight.
they don't have oversights.
Not plot oversights
No.
usually.
Yes, exactly.
1964
Good
is when it
job.
opened
Good job.
for the 1964 World's Fair.
Yeah, they don't generally have plot oversights. As a matter of fact, they usually have unbelievable, like crazy backstories that we don't even know about. You know what I
Right.
mean? Or that the average Disney goer doesn't have any clue about. Wild, crazy, intricate backstories like that they've created an entire life from conception of this animatronic that you're going to see and everything they went through as a child. So for them to have something not make sense is shocking.
Yeah. But
Which
not
does make
unheard
you
of.
want to create something, but that's not what I would create.
Yeah.
That you're right, like a neighbor kid maybe would make sense. Although I don't know, would a neighbor help with laundry?
But there's also just a lot to consider in terms of like sometimes there are just continuity errors and stuff in Disney attractions. Like the one that's coming to mind right now, different time period and everything. But in Muppets Vision 3D, there's like a real life Sweetums.
Yes.
And also Sweetums on the screen at the same time during the film, so you can look at them both.
Oh no.
Also in that movie, there's a practical effects mistake on the script, on the film, where you can see Miss Piggy's head rolling backwards when she gets water skied
You tell me. Jake tells me
tank.
When to look for this, and my brain doesn't see it, which is maybe good.
But if you ever do see it, you'll never unsee it. So Miss Piggy is doing a musical number, and right before she's on this water ski, and Bean Bunny pulls her into the water, but seemingly to keep the hair and the head out of the water, her head completely detaches from her body and rolls backward.
I need to see it in slow mo.
Yeah,
but you see it in regular speed.
Yeah, I can show it to you online as well.
In slow mo.
Mm-hmm.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's your fun thing to look up today, and we're done.
Yeah.
That's it, right, for conspiracy theories?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, you know that some people think that the castle can be dismantled when a hurricane's coming, but that's definitely not true. So
we're here to tell you that castle's not going nowhere. Even if it looks like a cake, it can't be taken apart in tears.
No, just the frosting then.
Just the frosting.
That was like a blow up, wasn't it? There were like blow up pieces attached to the castle to make it look like
inflatable attachments.
Inflatable, yes.
Wow, that'd be cool. I was hoping for Tron. Maybe they would do something cool with the castle, like project it to be the grid and have like the light cycles racing up the castle or something cool like that.
Like a projection.
Yeah, like a projection. I thought that might be
Do you
cool.
know that they didn't?
I didn't see that they did. And I feel like that would be something that would come across my timeline. So that feels like a missed opportunity.
Yeah.
But Walt's frozen head is in that castle.
Yeah. I know.
And that's the cold hard truth. Sorry, that's not true. What is true is that you can find us on social media at Neverland Navigate.
Oh, sorry.
No, you're right. Neverland Navco on Instagram and TikTok.
Yep. And our Etsy store is Neverland Navigation on Etsy. You just search Neverland Navigation. We can do custom shirts or dish towels, posters. Just send me a message. If you've got something in your head, just send me a message.
Yeah, if you want merchandise, if you want a shirt saying "Show me that newsboy's broken face," we'll make that for you.
We'll make that, sure. Why not?
Or one of my other favorites is Morgan's quintessential design of the Wonders of Life building with the tagline, "My favorite rotting building." Another classic.
It is my favorite rotting building.
Heart emoji, heart emoji, heart emoji.
Yes.
And if you would like to see the visual version and see our faces as we react to each other's conspiracy theories, then go to our YouTube channel, Neverland Navigation Co., and that's where we post full episodes of the visual version of the podcast.
Yep. And if you're listening to us on any podcast platform, if you could pretty please leave us a review, subscribe. That those things help us out a lot.
Yeah, tell us how much you enjoyed hearing these conspiracy theories. And also on Instagram, let us know if that you have strong feelings on some of these
Yeah.
because, some of them are a bit divisive. People really believe, you
Some of
know.
them we don't know.
Yeah, and some of them, if you've got firsthand knowledge of any of
Oh
these,
my God.
especially,
Yeah, I would die.
we'd love to hear from you. Yeah, send us
Yeah.
something. I love when people who work on these rides comment on our stuff.
Yes, yeah. Or we find something out from a cast member. Man, I love that.
Oh, those moments are beautiful.
Yeah.
And this has been a beautiful episode. And until our next beautiful episode, we'll see you on
On our
our
next
next adventure.
adventure.
Goodbye.